Hi everyone. I've been asked if I'll make a little video about doing research, particularly historical research, and having material at my fingertips to weave into a novel or a story that I'm writing. The project that slips into my mind very clearly right now is a historical novel I wrote a few years ago called Timbuktu, spelt the old-fashioned correct way with O-O at the end. It was a vast and far-reaching novel, my one and only so far fully loaded historical novel based in the Regency in the years 1815 and 1816 and a little bit before as well. It told the true life story of the first white man, the first Christian to make it to Timbuktu and back. Timbuktu being the ramshackle city in the Sahara Desert in West Africa that the Europeans were quite certain was a golden El Dorado, a metropolis fashioned from the purest gold. Of course it wasn't. And what I wanted to say about doing the research is that it enabled me to slip down through the layers of history and to do what I can only call time traveling. I read the newspapers and the journals and books from the time, but particularly the newspapers. I could go through London society, day by day and understand what the fashions were and who was scandalous and who was celebrated and who was not in favor. It was the most glorious experience of my life. And it sucked up a colossal amount of time. I worked on Timbuktu for about 5 years on and off and thought about it a lot longer than that. And I think it was just the fact of grinding away at it for so long, thinking of it from all different angles was what created this kind of smorgasbord or goulash of a book. I loved writing it and I loved, as I say, time traveling through the story and the characters. What I tend to do is when I found a subject that I want to write about, whether it's, my rather peculiar novel, I Spy, about a very challenged serial killer, or I'm thinking now of my novel Godman, or Casablanca Blues, or other, even my book, The Caliph's House, or others. I do a lot of reading. I go through all the obvious sources, books that I can find that contain material. And then I also go through newspapers and magazines and anything I can find. My favorite 2 online resources, obviously, are Wikipedia, because it's just a joy. And another one, which delights me in every way, it's called archive.org. And I was fortunate enough to get to know virtually one of the guys who runs it. They also run the Wayback Machine, which is a thing of wonder. Check it out, Wayback Machine. But one of the guys at archive.org wrote me out of the blue a few years ago, a kind of a fan letter. I was incredibly touched. And it turned out that he had also searched for Paititi, the house of the Tiger King, the lost city of the Incas, which I made, I wrote a book about and made a documentary about House of the Tiger King. And I was just thrilled that these people I was so in awe of had known my work. And then what's incredibly important to me, and I think to everyone trying to do research, is to talk to people and to try to get a sense of emotion. Obviously, a historical novel, with a historical novel, it's quite hard to talk to the people. But what I think is so important with whatever you're doing as a writer, it's to associate yourself with this kind of raw sense of emotion. Storytelling without emotion is the most boring thing on the planet. I can't bear boring things, although I have written about The Ordinary before. If anyone has read what I've written about that, they'll know. But I feel if you can talk to someone who has experienced and lived the emotions that you're trying to describe, and if you can feel those emotions firsthand, whether it's down a video call or a phone call or even in a message, a letter, an email from them, a text message, but best of all, face to face. I love talking to people face to face, and I love picking up the signals that I'm kind of getting boiling over from them. Do their eyes dilate? What's their body language like? How are they passing on this sense of wonder, describing something, if it is of wonder? When I was starting out writing my early books, I used to write colossal amounts of notes. I'd write notes on my notes. They were my foundations, and they were also my scaffolding, and I was quite nervous about ever starting. In fact, I'd beat myself up into this terrible stew. I wouldn't know how to start, and I'd be terribly anxious. I suppose it's like anything. The more you do of it, the more you get used to doing it. And you know, a bit like a musician playing a piece with a metronome clicking in the background, you just know, the feeling when it's right. And you know that if you can just keep going, you can move one foot in front of the next and write one paragraph after the next. The work will be done. And then you can always shape it if needed. Best of all, though, is to have pretty well-shaped material first on from the get-go. And I think the most valuable thing is to always remember what you're writing. It sounds so obvious, but keep in your head a fixed point on the horizon, or better still, beyond the next horizon. Never forget that point. Every sentence, every line, every paragraph, every page should be tracked towards that fixed point on the horizon. And if you can do that, then you'll get to the destination, and the work will, more than anything else, appeal to you as the author, as the creator, and hopefully to other people too. That's it.